Really, Bitcoin mining controls the entire ecosystem. Just like banks, their servers and their data centers, that controls all of the transaction and holds the ledger together.
Money is a representation of value in society. So let's say that all the goods and services is represented by $1 trillion. And if you've got 1/10 of that, then you can move and have access to 1/10 of all the goods and services in the society.
Bitcoin is immune to hyperinflation. We're always going to consume more energy, more water, more food, and data.
Also, as a quick thank you for listening to this channel, we have a link in the description for the viewers that will give you access to Saz Mining's team and any other promotions that Saz Mining is running. So if you want to get exposure to Bitcoin in the best way possible and at a discount through Bitcoin mining, then make sure you click on that link in the description. You'll get the opportunity through Saz Mining. Back to the show. How are you looking at the entire ecosystem right now? Because I know that a lot of people who are outside of the industry, especially those who don't understand it, it's just very difficult to look at the news and then still have confidence in the asset. But then you have people who are actually building companies, yourself included, who have been sticking through these cycles. And I'm just curious, what gives you the conviction to think that this is still worthy of putting your time into it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's I'll answer your question and then I'll share a story. So I don't forget the story I want to share. It's about a Facebook post I just made a couple of days ago. We're a little bit more liberal on our Facebook than we are maybe a LinkedIn or or Twitter where we share information or stuff that we're passionate about. So to answer your question is, there's a few thousand people in the Bitcoin mining space, and really all Bitcoin mining is not the technical aspect of it, but what it is it's computing the transactions on the Bitcoin network worldwide. And that takes a lot of electricity. And so what we found and discovered over the years of having to break down some barriers and educate Congress people and state officials, and especially decision makers at energy companies, that we're really just a large flexible load, and that is really healthy for the grid. And I won't go into all the details of why that is, but it's being able to flex and give energy back to the grid when they're stressed, and then be able to use a lot of energy when there's an excess amount of energy. So it really balances out the grid. So we in Bitcoin mining space, there's only a few thousand of us worldwide. It's a data center. It's a large business, right? This isn't retail investing into Bitcoin. This isn't buying a few shares. This isn't showing up to an event because you really love the decentralization of what Bitcoin can do for the world, right? This is strictly the data center side, and really, Bitcoin mining controls the entire ecosystem. Just like banks and their servers and their data centers, that controls all of the transaction and holds the ledger together. That's what Bitcoin mining does for the SHA 256 software. So I'm kind of geeking out here, but we are privy to information. We, as in Bitcoin miners, we're privy to information that maybe the general public doesn't get the opportunity to research unless they know what to ask, right? I'm on Twitter. It shows me everything from the top billionaires and multimillionaires within this industry, and all the companies publicly traded or private. So I'm privy to all the latest and greatest information. But if you're not in this small niche world, you're kind of subject to whatever the media tells you. So that's that. I prefaced that question you asked. I teed it up with a long story of where Bitcoin mining sits, how we're privy to information that maybe the general public isn't privy to. And then to answer your question, bring it back full circle, was how are we, or how do I feel about the market and the changes, and where do I see Bitcoin going? And so I'll go to the story. That was really cool. So the story is I posted on Facebook BlackRock's internal analysis that they made general, they opened to the general public, that went kind of viral on Twitter within our space about the analysis they did of the holdings of which they want to invest into. And it was about, I think it was 89.7 or 84.7. Did you see that?
No, I was actually going to ask if you could share a little bit more about it. I mean, I know about the announcement and everyone getting very excited about BlackRock looking to come in, just because it's when you think about traditional finance, BlackRock is pretty much as big and traditional as it gets. And any significant amount of assets or investment that goes into Bitcoin, like an investment that could be made by BlackRock, would significantly affect the price and then give other companies that are more in the traditional finance world that may not have been interested in Bitcoin, give them the stamp of approval to say, hey, it's okay to go and put your assets into this. So that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge of what's been going on with BlackRock in Bitcoin. I know that Larry Fink has been going on some news channels, and I'm not sure if he did a podcast about talking about Bitcoin, but yeah, I'd be curious to hear what you were talking to.
Yeah. So Larry Fink, like a lot of people, and it's okay, uh, weren't too sold on Bitcoin 4 or 5 years ago. They thought it maybe was a bubble, or just didn't quite understand the technology and how it's a technology and an ecosystem for everyone in the world, for the people. It's not controlled by just a few central banks who decide what money's worth based upon their own internal analysis that we never get to see. And it took a couple of years for companies like BlackRock, one of the largest equities in the world, and they saw how well Bitcoin was performing, and they also saw the longevity of it and how we've been able to sustain. When I say we, I mean Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin in general. How it's been able to sustain through some of the world's major crises, and in fact, it goes up in value whenever there's a major crisis, meaning COVID or the unfortunate invasion of other countries, people in South America having no means to do an exchange of services or exchange of monies for services and good. Venezuela being a prime example where it's more valuable to burn their money for warmth than it is to actually carry it and spend it because it's just paper. And so hyperinflation, Bitcoin is immune to hyperinflation. So
Actually, just to
BlackRock
pause
recognizes,
on that topic. Sorry to we can go back to BlackRock later, but just
and you're spot on. You're spot on. Like, there are so many intricacies and nuances to Bitcoin. It's hard for me to understand. Like, I'll know how to answer a question depending on what my audience is. And
yeah.
do I geek out, or do I just kind of give it a 30,000 foot view? There's a lot going on, and we haven't even gone into the agriculture side or the waste heat stuff. So don't open that Pandora's box. But yes,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
jump around
Continue.
quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. But BlackRock really is. Once they give their stamp of approval, they're submitted to the SEC for ETFs, and everyone followed suit. Fidelity's, everyone else. If they're doing it, we should probably be doing it. And I think it's really going to open up a lot of institutional investment, and it's just another step that helps educate the general public, but also institutions, that this is um, an ecosystem that's here to stay and benefit the people.
So the way that you're looking at it from a Bitcoin mining lens, how do you think all of these outside events, because at the end of the day, if you're a Bitcoin miner, you've got one type of business model that isn't directly tied to some of the outside news with, for example, exchanges and some of these other things. Of course, your bottom line is affected by the price of the asset, price of Bitcoin. But as a Bitcoin miner, how do you really take in all this news and make business decisions around it? Are you just heads down building no matter what? Do these outside news cycles affect some of the decisions that you're making in
Mhm.
terms of where you're allocating resources and how you're building your company? I'm just curious as to how you're looking at it. And also, if you want to tell a quick story about your background in starting the company and what you're actually
Yeah.
doing day to day.
Yeah, so I'm going to write that question down on I'll start with my background, but market changes. Okay. So, yeah, so I'm Jay Jorgensen, and I've been in health and fitness and for the better part of my 20s. Now that I'm
Yeah,
in
you're looking
my
pretty jacked. Even
unfortunately, I should probably get.
Over Zoom, it's difficult to tell too. Uh,
Oh, well, I appreciate the compliment. When you're in your own body, you don't realize it until you take a picture next to a bunch of people, towering over all of them.
how tall are
But
you, by the way?
yeah, 6'4", but
You're 6'4".
yes, sir.
Oh my gosh! So
Yeah,
you're a giant.
I am, but you just don't think of it like that because you just see yourself in the. Well, I don't even look in the mirror anymore, but you just see yourself in the mirror every day. Every day, you're just another regular person. So, um, yeah, so I'm Jay, and I came from health and fitness, and then I got into the corporate world in material handling. Think automation, distribution centers like Amazon's or manufacturing or places that you're storing a lot of inventory, shipping, all that kind of stuff. So, efficiency was the name of the game in a distribution center. The idea is how quickly and effectively can you get something from point A to point B, and Amazon's a perfect example of that. The more people that touch the package or the item or let's say you're in a manufacturing plant, and the less automation you have, the more time that takes, the less efficient it is, the more money it costs, all the above. So that's the world that I come from. I've been an early investor into Bitcoin early as 2015, and did well with that. And then I wanted to get into Bitcoin mining. Um, and I knew that there was a opportunity to improve the industry, to have it be more than just exchanging electricity for Bitcoin for revenue. I knew that the for the industry to survive, it would need to industrialize or have industrial augmentation within that in that data center aspect. And so I got to work and quickly learned that there's an extensive amount of heat that comes off of any data center. And 99% of the time, that waste heat is either counteracted with air conditioning, which is air polluting, carbon emitting, and is very, very expensive to cool those servers, or it's just freely blown into the atmosphere and nothing is done with that transfer of energy. And so I thought that would be a great opportunity to figure out a way to use that and reduce carbon emissions while also adding additional streams of revenue to the data center or Bitcoin mining process. So that's where I got my head to work, or put my head down and got to work. And without going into the long end of the story, that's where I wanted, or that's where we've invented a way, or provisional patent a way to capture that waste heat and transfer it thermostatically into commercial sized greenhouses, reducing the OPEX costs, being a huge win for growing local food, having food sustainability, creating local jobs, while also being as ESG focused as possible, um, using renewable energy as a whole. And we've combined the two industries together.
That's amazing. I mean, I feel like this is a topic that conceptually has been talked about, but the fact that you have actually gone out there and found a way to implement this is really amazing. So you filed a provisional patent, and do you have an MVP that's in development, or do you have a location where this is fully up and running?
Yeah, so we have a provisional patent, and then we have an MVP, just on a much smaller scale. I would call that a model pilot, and then we are taking it to where we're breaking ground for the full commercial size. I want to say I want to say mid-August, but it could lead into October.
Yeah,
And
timelines in this industry are always
yeah,
up in the
there's a
air.
lot of red tape. It's yeah, you can be ready to go, but there's a lot of politics involved with using energy and curtailment and all that stuff. We'll get into that another time. But we're starting with 3 acres as a pilot, 3 acres of commercial greenhouse where we're growing tomatoes on the vine. Uh, uh, Most, if not all, of your food, especially northern climates in the United States, all come from uh, over borders or sometimes from overseas. Your shelf life for that food is very, very short, and the quality of those foods aren't very good just because you're spending a week getting it from point A to point B after it's been harvested. So we're creating local food sustainability within northern climates while maintaining a profitable model. Greenhouses require a lot of heat. So that's where I thought to put the two industries together. And another thing we fell into over time was greenhouses actually require a lot of electricity, energy themselves. The LED lamps, you think LED, low electricity. Well, these lamps in particular uh, are very high energy use because they are mimicking and recreating the light, for simple terms, to help mimic the sun and to help those plants grow. You let them rest at night, and then you're giving them that artificial light to grow and grow rich foods in a controlled hydroponic environment. So, yeah, so that's where we're using the waste heat and combining the high electricity use of data centers and greenhouses and pairing those together.
Did you have any background in greenhouses before doing this? Or I guess on the health and fitness side, you were probably pretty passionate about just where your food comes from and things like that. But did you have any background, or were you just diving full into the learning about hydroponics?
Uh, I zero background, not at all. Of course, I was health conscious, but I never sourced where the food came from. I just sourced good brands and good companies, and tried to buy from local farmers markets. But zero greenhouse or hydroponic experience. I would like to give thanks to the big man above, God. It was 3 in the morning. I don't know why I had this story mastered. I've told it 100 times, but it was 3 in the morning, and I woke up and I started drawing these sketches. I knew that most Bitcoin mining is done in modular containers, modular data containers, where it stores several hundred of these ASIC units that are producing a lot of BTUs of heat in a dense closed capsule. All that heat is typically extracted outside of the modular container and freely used in the atmosphere. It's not doing anything, not doing any good. So that's where my provisional patent comes in. I woke up and I drew a sketch, and then I got to work. So with zero greenhouse experience, I started cold calling all the large commercial greenhouses that I possibly could find. There's not very many in the United States. It's kind of a thing that needs to evolve here to help meet the food demands that we need with our growing population. However, I was able to get into a lot of large companies and do interviews, either A, on site, I would travel to them, or do calls like we're having now. And I would learn as much as I could from all the right people, all the people with the right knowledge. So I guess I'm kind of a guru now, but by all means, no expert.
Yeah, I mean, you were probably the first Bitcoin miner that was reaching out to them, talking to them about Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I love how you can lead such good questions because it was incredibly difficult to get a meeting with greenhouse operators or presidents and say, hey, I can reduce your operational expense on your heating costs by north of 40%. Heating cost is one of the largest expenses for commercial greenhouses. If I could reduce their OPEX by 40%, in most cases, that's millions and millions of dollars annually that they would be saving for large scale commercial sized greenhouses. And so just telling them that got them very, very interested. But what we discovered was most greenhouse operators or companies, don't want to change or modify anything within their existing system. And nor do they even have enough electricity for their existing site. They're learning in the greenhouse or vertical farming industry that, again, back to the LED lamps, that they take a lot of energy, and they're now learning that, oh, wait a minute, I need 2 or 3 megawatts, sometimes 5 megawatts of energy annually to sustain this farm, and they're having to educate themselves. Can't just go out to a farm somewhere, open up a greenhouse, and expect that that one power pole that's coming in is going to be able to sustain that. So a lot of learning curves for that industry, but pairing the two, data center and greenhouses together, became obvious. It became obvious that I was going to have to do this from the ground up. I couldn't partner with an existing greenhouse, and I wouldn't be able to partner with an existing Bitcoin miner and attach one or the other. I would have to build a data center for Bitcoin mining and then build greenhouses adjacent to that data center to capture that waste heat. And so that's where we are.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering. So, do you consider yourself more of a Bitcoin mining company or more of a greenhouse growing type company?
We consider ourselves an agrotech, uh, food sustainability, local food, job creating, and grid stabilizing company. In fact, we don't even really talk about Bitcoin mining at all when we're presenting to senators, when we're presenting to officials that are trying to either A, recruit us to bring our model to their state for the jobs that we're creating, for the food that we're creating. Nowhere does Bitcoin mining ever even come up, because the way officials or energy companies see this is it's a large, flexible load. And that is really healthy for the grid, that they can call up on my company and say, hey, uh, we're in a heat wave. Can you shut down and send 20 megawatts back to the grid for 3 hours? Absolutely, power company. And then my software will do that. We're helping the grid. We're stabilizing energy. So energy companies and state officials really don't care that it's Bitcoin. They just love that the fact that it can stabilize the grid. And then the second most important thing, depending on your audience, it might be the first most important thing, is the amount of jobs that we're creating, and we're bringing local, healthy, sourced food to the region. So yeah, I would say we're an agrotech, waste heat. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that go into it, but I think you let it spot on. We're more of a greenhouse tech company than we are a data center company.
A couple of people who knew me, uh, I think at this point it was about 8 years ago. Actually, a bit over 8 years ago at this point. But I used to be really interested in hydroponics and aquaponics, and it was actually from the idea of thinking just logically about how it was a business that made sense, right? Because there's so if you have the ability to create food in different areas that and locate it near population centers and had margins that worked, then it just seemed like a business that was needed at scale, just from a food production perspective. And so I looked into it, uh, and talked with, kind of similar to what you did, like talked to some people trying to understand how the business works. But it's been so long that I pretty much forgot all the key insights that I once had with it. So it's interesting hearing your perspective. And one of the first things that I thought of when learning about Bitcoin mining and hearing about how much heat was being let off was thinking, oh, well, this would actually pair really nicely with a hydroponic system. So it's amazing to be talking with someone who's actually working on it. And I feel like it's something that if this MVP goes really well, that it just makes perfect sense and seems like it could be something that's so scalable, especially if you have a model that just can be placed in different climates.
Yeah. So, you bring up so many good points. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. So, my original model was to be able to integrate onto any existing greenhouse, which we can. But we learned the problem was is most of them don't have the amount of energy to even bring on even another megawatt, just because of where they're located. And then I also said, well, there's distribution centers, right? Large warehouses. I think how much money Amazon spends to heat one of their million square foot warehouses. We could easily provide that heat, and they would have energy available on that site. So there's a lot of things that, especially all the manufacturing, shipyards, all of those things that are really cold, that do have energy um, to run their existing equipment. Those are also things that we can integrate onto. For our MVP, I don't know if we're calling it. It's not much of a small MVP. It's still large by I guess general means. It's still large MVP. But we're starting with 3 acres of greenhouse, and then about 7 megawatts of energy. That's
That is a big
dedicated.
MVP.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, this. I can't say who our partners are yet because it's a publicly traded company. Not until everything's official and signed on the dotted line. But we're in legal right now, getting everything, all the red lines figured out. So
That's always a fun process.
yeah, so that's why I said we're breaking ground either August, middle of August or October. So
Hmm.
everything's been verbally finalized and all that good stuff. It's now just putting it on paper. So uh, decentralized food, you brought that up. And if you could, Mr. William, only bring up one thing at a time when you ask these questions because you get my brain going on like 4 or 5 different things.
Yeah.
So decentralized food. There's two models of getting food to urban areas and not so urban areas. The normal model or the typical model is build very large um, vertical farm buildings or greenhouses or retrofitting an existing building and distributing all of that food close to major population areas. Um, that's a great model. However, that doesn't serve the entire United States. So, what about the millions and millions of people outside of cities that are, 500,000 or more? There's a lot of people in the United States. So, decentralized greenhouses is what we need to do to get fresh produce, vegetables, and fruit to all the people. And the good part from a financial standpoint is it's okay if one is not doing so well because it's the bigger the crown, the harder the fall. You're not having this massive facility go bankrupt like you're seeing with some of these other vertical farming companies, all filing Chapter 11 because they spent too much money on one location, too much on R&D. Really, we're just trying to get food at an affordable price that's healthy, certified organic, not using any pesticides or herbicides, and getting that food to people who want to buy it. And because we're reducing the OPEX on heating and we're not spending millions of dollars on robots to pick the vegetables, think about the ROI on that. We're creating a lot of jobs and we're very profitable.
Interesting. Yeah. The margins on hydroponics, I can't remember them very well. I mean, is it something that it's very competitive without this type of additional revenue stream through Bitcoin mining? Like, I guess if you could compare it to Bitcoin mining, how do you think about that
Yeah,
business
well,
model?
that's my favorite part when it comes to the business side of this. Is I wanted to create an additional stream of revenue, a hedge, if you will, to the volatility of Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining, you mine pretty much no matter what the market is doing. Whether it's worth 50,000 or 30,000, you're pretty much always mining because you hold on to those. You keep your holdings of Bitcoin, and eventually, when you feel like you want to sell some of it, you just do that at a point where maybe it's 60,000, right? So I wanted a system while we're mining Bitcoin and retaining those holdings to create additional revenue. And so, yes, it's very hydroponics for one are extremely efficient, and per square foot you make tenfold that you would of an outdoor traditional crop. There's several reasons. There's several reasons for that. You can control the environment. You're not subject to famine. You're not subject to heat waves or cold freezes. You're not subject to when I say famine, I meant like bugs or infestation. or diseases. You can control the entire environment indoors and grow healthy food year round, no matter what outside environment is doing. So being able to reduce costs anywhere you can to become competitive, and by the time it hits the grocery shelves, is always um, is always a good thing. So the fact that we can grow food that's better, more local, and still retains all of the certifications of being organic, pesticide and herbicide free, and we can charge less but still make more money because we're combining the data centers and the greenhouses together. Both industries very energy intensive. Data center produces a lot of waste heat. We transfer that over to here to reduce costs, and then we are also R&D light or SG&A light. So uh, while we have a lot of staff to do the labor, we have very little executives because we automate a lot of these systems, and we don't feel the need to pay people these high executive salaries when really that money should be given to the laborers. So we feel that we found this pretty sweet spot where we're controlling or we're helping energy, water consumption, food consumption, right? We're hitting all of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We're hitting the whole bottom scale of that, and making it a revenue driven business.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I think that Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining in particular, you're hitting so many different areas. I mean, so for example, at SAS Mining, our actual vision as a company is to improve humanity's relationship with money and energy. Now that this sounds very big and very grand, but at its core, that's what you're really interacting with when you're looking at Bitcoin mining, right? With Bitcoin mining, you're trying to build a better money in Bitcoin. And then in terms of relationship with energy, for a lot of the things you mentioned earlier, with how it helps stabilize the grid, how it reduces waste, how it enables you to accelerate renewable energy development, all these concepts, when you take a step back, you realize, okay, well, Bitcoin mining is a very powerful technology that if you implement it in the right way, it can significantly improve these massive, massive pillars that society runs on. And it's really interesting hearing exactly what you're doing because you're doing it from a food perspective. And as you mentioned, tying into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is really incredible. So I guess my
Thank
next
you.
question would be from how you're looking at Bitcoin as an asset. Are you are you looking to really just get more exposure to Bitcoin over time? Are you one of these, for lack of a better term, Bitcoin maxis, or very, very passionate about Bitcoin becoming a global reserve asset, becoming worth $1 million a coin? Or are you someone that is more so just looking at this as, hey, we have a sustainable revenue stream through the hydroponics, and then we've got this revenue with volatility in Bitcoin, but we're just trying to manage this as a more like, step by step type of business and grow and scale over time.
Yeah. So I love that question. One is we're Bitcoin maxis, but we're also practical.
It's a good
So
answer.
first and foremost, we need to generate a profit, and we do that by all the things I've previously stated and adding additional streams of revenue to the energy process. And by using industrial augmentation, we're able to create several different buckets of revenue. And it comes down to four different revenue streams. One, not in any particular order. One is our food sales and crop sales. Two is our curtailment of the energy grid and being able to support that energy grid. Three is Bitcoin mining. And then four is kind of a nice X factor that we don't put in our pro forma, but we know is there. And that is the carbon credits and the RECs that we'll be producing by adding a solar to this as well. So those are the four additional streams of revenue. Um, Bitcoin is going to go to those millions, but I have no idea when, and I highly doubt it'll be within my lifetime. Will it get up to those millions by the year 2140 when the last Bitcoin is mined? Hope so. I want to leave a legacy for my kids, 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 right? Uh, but more importantly, the infrastructure that we're investing into can be used for other things. If, let's say, Bitcoin, just for whatever reason, doesn't pan out, we're in the age of information. Now, when we said information when we were kids, we thought like the internet and Google and information that is uploaded onto the web, and that takes servers. Well, I don't know if you have a relationship with a special lady in your life, but my special lady, my wife, um, will max out her cell phone, like the most expensive one you can get, and max out the data just on pictures and video of kids and vacations and stuff. Now imagine everyone in the world who does that. So we're in the age of data. We're always going to consume more energy, more water, more food, and data. So it's kind of interesting that we fell into all four of those things. And there's other things that data is also. So just what we all are loving to use, artificial intelligence. It's taking a lot more computing power. And the great part about our infrastructure with Bitcoin mining is that can easily be a hybrid or completely converted over to host any sort of servers that are needed. In the traditional data center space, there's several tiers of redundancies that are set up with um, companies that have backup after backup after backup in case something. And there's no one point of failure, and those companies aren't able to have the luxury that Bitcoin mining has. But other traditional data center things are servers for like gaming, Netflix, Hulu, Apple, like all of these companies all need massive server farms. I once, my neighbor actually is a video game developer for a huge company, and I won't say who because I know I screwed up, but it's for Diablo. Is that Blizzard?
I've heard of Blizzard.
I
I don't
think it's
know much about the
Blizzard.
video game
Or
industry.
okay, well, he says they have like over 400 servers, data centers throughout the world to
Wow.
support their video gaming. So if like one goes down, it's okay. They have a whole bunch of backup ones. So that's the idea of being able to decentralize all of these data centers. Is we can grow into other industries because of the infrastructure we've already created. We have the energy, we have the water, we have the land, and we have the ability to adapt to what those needs are. So yes, we're maxis. Yes, we'd love it to go to a million, but right now, let's just talk about in the next 5 years. Is we want to create a profitable business model that serves the people, that with which within the communities of which it serves, and yeah, we hope it goes to the moon. We all do. We all want to be profitable. I will add at the end of that is Bitcoin won't be considered after several years. I don't know how many years. I say probably 10 to 15 to 20 years. Won't be really considered a means of I want to buy now so I can make money a year from now. I think by that point it'll be so stabilized that it is just going to be a means of exchange, um, and the ability to store money and keep your own money, which is what the Bitcoin is intended to do. So yeah, there's a lot of uncertainties, but we're cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on an important point there. It is a massive paradigm shift going from the traditional fiat way of thinking about money to a world where Bitcoin might be the global reserve asset. I think I've stated it on this podcast before, but uh, I have a feeling that, for example, when you and I were talking with our grandkids and we're explaining how the system used to work pre Bitcoin, it's going to sound absolutely absurd. I'm going to be like, oh, everything used to be tied to the dollar. What happens if the US just prints more dollars? It's like, that's how the system today works. And I think that having a global reserve asset where no single country, regime, organization has control over the supply is a massive paradigm shift that we've never really had in human history. I mean, if you just look at the way that money operates, money is a representation of value in society. So let's say that all the goods and services in society is represented by $1 trillion. And if you've got 1/10 of that, then you can move and have access to 1/10 of all the goods and services in the society. But if we had 99 trillion more dollars and you still have 10% of the initial trillion, then now you can't buy 10% of all the goods and services in society. It's just nominated in a different way.
It's
And right now,
Venezuelan money.
exactly. And that's what
And
you
I don't say
alluded to earlier.
that with a yeah, and I don't say that to be sarcastic. It's very heartbreaking. It's happening in a lot of countries.
Yeah. And I mean, that is the biggest, from my perspective, just looking at it, I haven't gone through or experienced hyperinflation personally, but I mean, when your livelihood's on the line, when you all of a sudden realize that your basic needs are becoming more and more difficult to meet because the currency that you're operating within is failing, then I feel like that's the biggest incentive that you can possibly have to go and learn about what is money, how does money work, why is it that things are becoming 10 times more expensive in such a short period of time. And I think that that's one of the big reasons why you've seen in times when currencies have collapsed, when you look at Cyprus, when you look at the Bolivar in Venezuela, when you look at these currencies collapsing, you see the digital literacy and the understanding of Bitcoin just shoot up. It's because it's by necessity, not necessarily by, oh, I want this to double in price over the next 4 years as part of my investment portfolio.
Everything you've said, I couldn't say it better. You brought up some things that made me feel thankful that uh, Bitcoin in the adoption process isn't done by people like me. I mean, I'm one of 100 million, but most people that adopt Bitcoin is out of necessity, is out of fear for not being able to control their own money, is out of hype and excitement, is out of political beliefs that the government shouldn't control the money, is out of the ability for the technology of which blockchain serves, that no fraudulent activities can take place, that it's an open ledger, or that it's a sovereign currency for the world. I mean, I could just go on and on. So 1% of the Bitcoin world, not even 1%, a tenth of a percent, are Bitcoin miners. But the rest of the world has the we call it Satoshi, as you can see on my white paper right there. Satoshi's first gift is being able to give people the ability to transact peer to peer without a third party permission or integrator. And you hear the saying, you take a $50 bill and you spend it, and by the time it passes through 50 people, it's still a $50 bill. Well, you take that same $50, but you use a debit card or credit card to transact that 50 times at 1.5% uh, transaction fees. Well, now the bank has all that $50, and that $50 will have been inflated by the 1.5% of and so forth and so on. You can see that. So I'm very thankful that there was a group of people, or a guy or a girl, Satoshi, who who created this system. And it's not a coincidence that it was created in 2009. We just weren't we just didn't have access to the information in 2007 and 8 like we do now. Um, but if anyone has the opportunity to watch a movie called The Big Short, it's on Netflix. Matthew McConaughey and a few other major people. It's where the housing markets and Federal Reserve and institutional banking rigged the system. They knew it was going to happen, and that's why it's called The Big Short. And the whole entire financial system throughout the world crashed. That's why Bitcoin was created, and that it crashed in 2008. And someone or a group of people said we need to do something about this, and they created it and sent it out to the world. in 2009. So it's out of necessity, as you said. People learn and adopt Bitcoin usually out of necessity. What was created out of necessity. I think it's a really great thing that the whole world can find reasons why it's good for them, no matter what country you come from, what political beliefs you have, what religion you are, what skin color you are, what sex you are. It is truly a currency for anyone and everyone as long as you've got a computer and internet connection.
Yeah. I think that the amazing thing about it, and not to tie it to the price or anything, but I think that when you look at when Bitcoin started, it really didn't have value, and then it became part of a free and open market. And then as more and more people saw the value in it, it started to grow, and the mining network continued to grow, and then more and more capital flow, and continues to this day, continues to flow into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I think in a very interesting way, it almost levels the playing field for people who are open-minded and willing to learn about this new technology. I feel like by this point in time, most people out in the world have heard the word Bitcoin. Most people know or have been, Bitcoin's been put on people's radars, but it's the intellectually curious people who are willing to hear it and then really start to dig deep. And whatever that catalyst is, I think that everyone is going to buy Bitcoin or get exposure to Bitcoin at a point that's right for them. And right now, we're still really early. It's interesting because when I first got into it, I thought I was so late. I thought I completely missed the boat. And this was back in 2017. I was thinking that I was completely too late. But now, today, I feel like I'm extremely early because, as you mentioned, it's a long game. The last Bitcoin is not going to be mined until year 2140. And so we're still in the first couple innings of this entire industry. And I mean, we're both part of building companies in this industry. I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And I really wish you the best of luck in continuing to see success with the MVP, but also scaling this up, man. I really do think that what you're building can have a tremendous impact.
Thank you so much for that compliment, and thank you for having me. We really are a company that came together. We've attracted a lot of talent, a lot of people who called me when I knew I was doing something right. When my architect Krista contacted me and reached out, she's a world-renowned hospital architect who loves sustainability. So she says, "What are you doing? I want to be a part of this," and that kept happening. People kept coming to GeoBitMine wanting to be a part of it, and we attracted the right people to become the company that we are today, and to have raised 14, 15. So depending on what the red lines look like. So it's pretty exciting for that to be your first non-bootstrap raise. And so we're really excited about that. We really do think it's going to make a difference. And because we're serving the people in the community of which we're located at, we think that it'll, like you said, it'll be able to replicate, and to the communities that also need that assistance in local food and job creation, good jobs too, good ones in a good environment. I mean, imagine being a farmer. You think guy with a backhoe or backbreaking work with heavy machinery, or guys lifting 100-pound bales of hay. Those are farmers, but our farmers are actually in lab coats in 72-degree Fahrenheit weather, indoors all day. So, and they're paid well. And that's just, those are the entry level jobs. There's also a career path in which you can grow on the IT side and on the hydroponics side. So thank you so much for having us, or me, GeoBitMine. It's been an honor.
Yeah, something tells me that you'd be a really good farmer. I feel like you'd be able to move quite a bit.
I am born and raised in Idaho, and yeah, I didn't own, my family didn't own a farm, but I had cousins who owned farms, and I was surrounded by farms. And so if I wanted to earn money to go buy baseball cards, well, basketball or Pokemon cards, believe it or not, I think I have like binders of all first edition. Apparently they're worth like a ton of money.
Do you still have the Pokemon cards?
All of them. All mint
Oh
condition,
man, yeah. You probably have a
edition.
valuable a valuable collection there. I
I,
used to
I saw
collect
on
Pokemon
Reddit.
cards too.
Yeah, I saw on Reddit, and yeah, I was an OG. I would show up to Toys R Us Pokemon tournaments, and I would dominate. But that's how I earned money to dominate, to buy the best. I'd buy boxes of trading cards or Pokemon cards at the time, not just one pack. And those were like $80, and that was unheard of at the time. And you're like this 12, 13-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid. They're like, how do you get that money? And I go, well, I go out to the farm and I move pipe all day, and it's hot and it's heavy, the watering pipe, or I weed the farms, or I lift, just as I said, bays of hell into the back of trucks.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a place that definitely performed better than the dollar. If you were buying Pokemon cards, a lot of those cards have just shot up in value. I mean, I had a first. I'm not sure what the proper name of it is, like first edition. I don't know, but it was that really valuable Charizard.
oh,
That
you had a first edition Charizard, yeah.
yeah, the one that was selling for crazy amounts, like the most expensive card out there. I had one of those. It was my prized possession. And when I got older, I mean, I stopped really playing with the cards. I would just collect them too. So I just had a binder full of them, and they were just kind of collecting dust somewhere. And my mom gave away the binder that had all my cards, including that card. And so it was definitely
It happened.
a massive lost cause.
Yeah, my mom and dad would have done the same thing on that too. They gave away a lot of good stuff,
Yeah.
like mint condition regular Nintendos with all the games. so and I'm from this generation. I have a ton of like rookie cards of. It was probably I probably have 100 different Kobe Bryant rookie cards. The Charles Barkley's. He was a little bit later. I obviously didn't have a Jordan rookie, but Garnett, like anyone in like 1994 and on, I would have like the nicest basketball cards you could get, all pristine condition within, was like mint 10 or something. I don't know what that means.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
are
the
you
grading
planning on
system.
keeping those, or do you think that you're ever going to sell them?
I would gladly sell them, and assuming that I'm well to do at the time, give the money towards a program like a charity of some kind.
I feel like
If I'm
even
not,
selling them takes a lot of work, though. I feel like you need
that's what I was saying.
someone
That's why I haven't done it.
that is going to sell it all, and you just say, "Hey, you keep a cut of it, and then you take the rest."
That's actually what stopped me. I've told people that have had it when the popularity was just skyrocketing, and I go, well, they're in my parents' house in Idaho. I'm in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and I need someone to manage it and sell it, and to make sure they're okay, to get them graded, all that stuff. So
Yeah,
I'll probably find someone who knows how to do that locally, and then give them 20-30% of the sales, or what have you.
that would be the best gig too. If you were just a kid that was looking to make some money, instead of having to go and do a traditional business, just have all the inventory, and then you get to keep 20-30% of the profit.
Those existed, my friend. Those were called trading card stores. Those exist just like there were CD stores and record stores. There were trade. You know this because you're my age. It sounds like Pokemon. There were actually card trading stores, and that's all they did. But then everything went digital, and trading cards went out of business. But now nostalgia's kicked in. We're all around 40 years old, and now everybody wants that hard asset, the card, that feeling of pulling something out of a sleeve, right? Oh, I just pulled this. We'd always say that as kids. Dude, I just pulled a Stephon Marbury rookie.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
which was worth nothing at the time, but then like if I were to go over to China with all of those Stephon Marburys, I would probably make $1 million, like because he's the greatest thing for basketball in China. So, or was.
I was just at Bitcoin 2023, and there are these trading cards. I'm not sure if you're able
No
to
way,
see.
I haven't seen those.
Yeah, so I met the guy who started this company, and they're working with some of the top, I'm going to butcher the name, but the companies that make the trading cards. So like the
Well, you just
Pokemon
said it on
cards.
accident. You just said the company name on accident. Tops.
Oh, is it called Tops?
Yeah, TOPPS. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
That's
they
one company. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So they work with the people who make, so they're really really nice cards, and I bought a bunch of packs, and I actually, this is the last one that I haven't opened, so I was going to open it here with you to see what's in it. But they're going to be making a mining series as well, and so
You're giving me the best. This is the best
yeah.
podcast I've ever been on.
So let's see. What's the next event that you're going to be at? I'll give you the cards that are in this at the next event.
Um, it probably won't be till January. I think unless
We'll
there's some,
coordinate. We'll
well, no, I
coordinate
do go to
off
one
of
in.
the off air,
I'd
and
go
I'll
to
find a way to get
Austin.
these to you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I got to see what we're opening.
Yeah. Let's see if we get a rare one. All right. So these are there were 3 pack levels, and then this was the second to top pack level. The top packs were really expensive though. I can't remember the exact price, but they're pricey, like almost $100 a pack. These were,
What?
yeah,
They should have.
they're
They
super
should
rare.
have flooded the market with like the basic packs to get everyone wanting them.
Okay, so what I really like about these cards is that they're actually educational. I actually haven't seen any of these cards. Okay, yeah. So the first one, the Fiat Standard by Saifuddin.
It won't focus. I wish I could see. It's just a big blur of blue and white.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, we'll worry about that after. Oh,
Or
hold on.
actually, I can change the focus of the camera here.
Yeah, that'd be. Oh, there it goes. The Fiat Standard. I see it now.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
which is a wonderful book.
Yeah, so there's that one. And then FOMO card.
This is the best.
Yep.
Oh, you got someone balling out. Who's this? Corey Clipston?
Oh, he's probably a guy who like probably took his salary in Bitcoin or something. Would be my guess.
FTX. It looks like he was with FTX. It says he's like with FTX or something.
Yeah, these cards also have like all this information on the back too, but
yeah, to tell you what they are.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So yeah, Corey. Okay, interesting. Yeah, CEO of Swan.
Okay.
Okay.
An octopus looking thing.
Oh, this is a laminated card.
Yeah, it looks like it's holographic or something.
Yeah. Fix the money.
So that one's probably like worth a lot. That one's a rare one. You pulled a rare.
We pulled a rare one. We pulled a rare
Nice.
one. Yeah, they don't all have, or actually, yeah, this is a rare one. Some of the bottom tier pack, they don't always have one of these like rare ones, but these packs I think come
That
with at
was
least
cool.
one.
Yeah, that was a holographic. If you pulled a holographic, man, you knew you're on your way.
And then okay, resources. The resources. Okay, interesting.
This is
Dylan
Bitcoin
Leclerc.
favorites.
Yeah, he's like a Bitcoin analyst. He's got some good research. And then what does this say?
It's not focusing. Can you get the camera? Can you refocus the camera?
Oh yeah. A FUD card for the bear market.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, there's a bear. Okay.
Yeah, too volatile.
Is that like
FUD.
Nelson Mandela? Who the heck is that?
Let me see.
I can't see.
Edward Griffin, freedom fighter. I guess he's a freedom fighter.
Okay. All right. I saw freedom at the top and then an African American looking man with white hair. And I'm like, is that an old. Is that? I was like, what? Okay.
And then Coinbits. I guess that they're one of the sponsors of the pack. And then the last one.
Okay. Ooh, another basketball looking one.
Sean Harris. Yeah. That's
so
the pack.
Cool. That is so cool. So William, you need your own. You want to be on that card. You'll be like a super rare in the $100 pack.
I have a feeling I might be in the mining pack. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'd like to. I know you do some mining, so you're your host, correct?
Yeah. So actually, so the date we're recording this is the 28th, but yesterday a lot of news came out on our new facility in Paraguay. So we have a facility out in Wisconsin. We host. So if you want to start getting exposure to Bitcoin outside of an exchange, like instead of going and buying Bitcoin through Coinbase, you can buy a Bitcoin miner through us. and then the Bitcoin that's mined from your machine is deposited into your wallet. And so
Wonderful.
that's the product
And you
that
got to
we started
Paraguay.
building back in January, or not January, back in July of 2021. And yeah, it's been quite the journey releasing this product and expanding into Paraguay.
That's exciting, William. Man, you're years ahead of me. I could not get a Bitcoin mining company interested in what I'm doing, and nor could I get a greenhouse company interested. So the fact that at the time, seems like a lot of people caught up, and now it's really exciting for the investors to do uh, additional things with the mining.
Well,
I
I
know
tell people
Paraguay
all the
was.
time that the industry that we're in is probably one of the hardest industries in the entire world to be successful in. It is ultra competitive. You're looking at a perfectly competitive marketplace with the Bitcoin mining network. You're looking at the difficulty of overcoming the threshold to get started, because it does take a decent amount of capital, economies of scale. There's so many other mining companies out there. It's hard to differentiate yourself. So I mean, building a successful company in our industry, I feel like if you take any entrepreneur in our industry and put them in another industry, that they'd be able to go and do very, very well, because you just get so many battle scars and just learn about how to handle very competitive and stressful environments being a Bitcoin miner.
you don't, you
I know I'm
are
preaching to the
you are
choir
spot
here
on.
because you're in it, but yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like a
no,
lot of people who are outside of the industry just don't really realize how competitive it is and how difficult the fundraising market is and how difficult it is to differentiate yourself as a miner, especially if you're coming in the game late and you weren't one of the OG miners from earlier on, or
yeah.
not coming in with a bunch of capital backing straight from the start.
You're spot on. I just had a friend that I've connected with, and she owns a business. I won't say the company name or anything because I don't want to be disrespectful by saying this. Not that I'm only saying good things. I just don't want to misspeak. So she owns a thing, and she wanted to get into a few large boxes, and we grew up together and we're friends, and so I got on the phone and I'm like, one thing led to another. I'm like, I think I can get you into these large boxes. And I made some phone calls, and we've already had one meeting. Because to me, it was like the path of how to get to these people at the top and how to get past the smoke screens, the people that think they're in charge, but they're not, bad actors, uh, how to get to the checkbook writers and, or decision makers. So yeah, you're spot on. And the fact that, I mean, you're in Paraguay, everyone in the world was trying to go to Paraguay, and you were one of the people that actually did. So that's pretty exciting.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's interesting because when you look at when you're on the outside looking at the Bitcoin mining industry, I feel like there are different levels to it, where initially someone might just look at your cost of electricity, your hardware price, and the price of Bitcoin. But there's so many other layers deeper and deeper, all the way to just understanding the politics of the local area, the incentives of the energy companies that you're working with, who the people on the ground are. Are there incentives? Are there local economic development officers that you're dealing with? Like the relationships are such a big part of the mining game, and going and getting boots on the ground, that's a massive uh, hurdle to overcome that many people might not see. And so we're ecstatic that we're able to not only get that uh, get get across those hurdles, but then be able to bring that to the market. And I mean, our software has continued to evolve over time. So I think that the MVP that we had out in Wisconsin to really show, hey, we can deliver for customers and make it easy for you to start mining. And now being able to do it in Paraguay with 4.7 cents hosting for our customers, I think it's going to be it's going to be an
You guys are
exciting year.
charging. You guys are. I got. You guys are charging 4.7 to the end user.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's pretty cool.
And so and this is my philosophy for this, and I could be completely wrong, but I think that when you look at a lot of the most successful businesses of, for example, Web 2.0, what they did is they took a customer first approach and really just being willing to put it all on the line and just know that if you provide the end customer with an experience that they're sitting back thinking, how the heck are these guys doing it? And you make it that good, then they're going to become your biggest fans. They're going to become your marketing. They're going to want to buy more and expand with you. And so our goal here is really to not really be making like a big margin like a lot of businesses traditionally would try and build into, like, because I mean at 4.7 cents that's really cheap. I mean, we realistically could go to the market with a much higher electricity rate and eat a
You
higher
could go
margin.
to it with six. You can go
Yeah,
to it with six.
exactly. We
You can
could
go to it
easily
with
go to
six and
like
a half.
6.5 and then have that whole
Yeah,
margin.
you can go to seven if you're really like you're a hassle free legit because all the retail mining people that I talk to, they all do not like their partner that's hosting for them because there's a lot of hidden fees that they don't, and then there's this and that. And what are you going to do? They just turn your machine. Well, okay, we'll just turn your machine, and
Yeah.
and so they hold a hostage. So the fact that you focused on the customer experience and you treat them, um, you meet their needs first, I think is going to give you the biggest edge because I've seen people lose money just to switch, a lot of money
Yeah.
just to switch who's hosting. So I think a lot of the market is now it's not becoming competitive in attaining new customers. I think it's like the cell phone market, and it's like, oh, AT&T has been horrible to me, and you switch over to Verizon. I think, or vice versa. I think a company like yours that does that customer experience and is straightforward and is easy for people to have to be hosted. I think a lot of people will start switching over to you. So,
Well, the other big
that's my
thing is you look at all these people who took the leap and tried to get into this industry. I'm not saying through mining, but just from buying crypto, right? Buying Bitcoin or maybe buying some other type of coin. There were so many bankruptcies. There's so much crypto and Bitcoin held up in litigation right now through Celsius, through BlockFi, through FTX. And so if you're looking at the situation, you're one of these people, it's going to be very difficult for you to trust exchanges again. And it's also just going to be difficult for you to want to put capital into this again and not feel stressed about it. And so one of the big opportunities that I think that we're starting to tap into, that the market's starting to see, is that yes, you can go and you can acquire Bitcoin through the traditional way of an exchange. And that is one method for acquiring Bitcoin. But we're trying to build a more seamless way for you to get exposure to Bitcoin and actually do it in a Bitcoin native way, almost like Satoshi's real vision for Bitcoin, where you can acquire Bitcoin through the mining process and you're not necessarily dealing with an exchange or worrying about having your crypto locked up in bankruptcy court. Like the Bitcoin that your machine mines with SAS mining is directly sent to your wallet. So we don't even touch the Bitcoin. It's being sent directly from the mining pool, the payout. So I think that overall, especially with the experience that a lot of people have had in the industry, I just think that this is a better and easier way to acquire Bitcoin. And I think that the market hasn't realized that yet. But in once we have the additional traction from Paraguay, that it's really going to start to pick up. Fingers crossed.
well, so Paraguay, when will it be done?
So the first customers' machines are going online September 15th.
Okay, I've got 47 machines that I think I might want to be able to send you if you have
Yeah,
if it's
actually, on our
doable.
website, we've got a section where you can apply to have your machines sent, and we just have certain diligence and checklists that we do on certain machines that we accept to the facility, and uh, yeah,
They're all
you can go
19s.
check it out.
Yeah, they're all 100 th 19s. Um, yeah, that's really cool. There's just so many. Yeah, I don't like Compute North, all of that. That's why companies like Marathon Digital Holdings and other large companies are becoming fully integrated, building their own stack from the ground up. No longer doing the hosting route, but or being hosted. Now they're buying their own facilities, building out their own facilities, manage everything, every position managing it. So um, I think there's a large enough footprint on the retail side and the institutional side for both sides to be very successful. They have their competition basically being, okay, what happens? There's only going to be a few major miners that are still alive in the next 10, 20 years. And then the retail side, I think it will be the same thing. There'll be a handful, 10 to 20 throughout the world that survive. And if you're at 4-7 or what have you, and you offer good service, you guys are surviving. And not only surviving but thriving. So congratulations to that. I want to be like you.
I think it's going to be an interesting. We're going to have to do this podcast like yearly or something, and have check-ins and continue the conversation
every 6 months.
Yeah, honestly, at this rate, every 6 months, this industry moves so quickly.
Yeah. It sure is nice. I'm smiling now. And you experienced this 2 years ago. I have no idea how you got started 2 years ago. That's just, I don't know how you raised that money within the market. It was brutal. I mean,
it was.
It
was a grind. Oh my gosh.
And I've almost had like a public flogging from shame, from energy companies and officials because of all of the fake news or misinformation that was out there about Bitcoin mining and all of this stuff. And then it was hard. You had to learn how to go in there and put your helmet on. Trying to do something. They just didn't understand it, and people fear what they don't understand. And even if you're polite and kind and wanted to help educate them, it's only human nature to have confirmation bias, especially energy companies. They had no idea. Like, what? That doesn't exist. You can't flex 20 megawatts. You can't put up 20 megawatts in a year. That takes at least 5 years. And I'm like, no. What? We've learned how to do things better. We're private. We're efficient. We don't have 48-month lead times for a meter. So because we'll just go buy it from whoever doesn't have lead. We can go to other things. But now the conversations, thank goodness, through people like the Satoshi Action Fund, Dennis over there, and other means to publicly educate. Now our conversations we're welcomed. But in the beginning, we were feared and chastised. So the fact that we're here now and we survived that, I think is a testament to the companies that will continue to survive and thrive. So congratulations to you, man. I want to every 6 months.
Every 6 months. All right. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. I'm glad that we were able to make this happen, because I know that the scheduling on my end wasn't the best, and then I was having the Wi-Fi issues. So I appreciate you being so flexible, making this happen. Also, as a quick thank you for listening to this channel, we have a link in the description for the viewers that will give you access to Saz Mining's team and any other promotions that Saz Mining is running. So if you want to get exposure to Bitcoin in the best way possible and at a discount through Bitcoin mining, then make sure you click on that link in the description. You'll get the opportunity through Saz Mining. Back to the show. So that was it for today's video. On this channel, we upload content around Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. So if that's of interest to you, subscribe. Click on this video right here. That's it for me today. I'll see you next time.